What is the direction of the force on the wire? Well, all we need to use here is the right hand rule. So make sure you're using your right hand. Often in exams, people will be writing with their right hand and use their left hand to check, but they'll get the wrong answer. So we need to put our pen down and use our right hand. Our current is moving in this direction. Our magnetic field is moving into the board. And so the direction of the force is up the image. Question 14. An ideal transformer has 150 turns in the primary coil. A 5 amp current flows through the primary coil and 7.5 amps flow through the secondary coil. How many turns of wire are there in the primary coil? So it's a bit of a complex question here. Let's just quickly draw a diagram. Diagrams are always helpful. Here's our primary coil. Through the primary coil we have 5 amperes of current, right? Through the secondary coil we have 7.5 amperes. So what we need to figure out is if this has 150 turns, then how many turns does this have? So we know that power in a transformer is never going to increase, right? It's going to be conserved. So that means that if this has a higher voltage, this will have a lower voltage, because 5 amps times whatever voltage, we'll just call it a V, has got to equal 7.5 amps times the other voltage. So we can call these V1 and V2, or V primary and V secondary. So we can see that V2 will be less than V1. Now the voltages in the two transformers are going to be proportional to the number of turns. So that means that if V2 is less than V1, then the number of turns will be less than the number of turns in the primary coil, right? We can even figure out what factor it'll be by dividing both sides by one of the currents. In this case, we don't really need to do that because only one of the options has a number of turns that's less than 150. And that, of course, is A, 100. The proportion will, of course, be 1.5. So we can see that 1.5 times 100 will equal 150, just like 1.5 times 5 will equal 7.5. And 1.5 times the unknown voltage of V2 will produce V1, whatever that may be. Finally, question 15. Which of the following is correct? The EMF produced by motors can be ignored for practical purposes. The current in a wire does not significantly affect energy loss over long distances. No transformer is perfectly efficient. Or direct current is produced by generators because it is easier to transmit. Now, let's work through these. The EMF produced by motors can be ignored for practical purposes. This is not right. If a motor is turning, especially if it's turning very, very fast, then the electromotive force can be very, very great, and so we need to account for it. The current in a wire does not significantly affect energy loss over long distances. We know that power loss is actually equal to current squared times resistance. So current is one of the things that makes the most impact on the energy loss over long distances. D states that direct current is produced by generators because it is easier to transmit. We know, of course, that this is not the case. AC power is much easier to transmit because we can step it up to a higher voltage and step it back down when we need it. So our last option is C, and C is the correct answer. No transformer is perfectly efficient. Often in physics questions, we'll assume ideal transformers that don't lose any power at all. In the real world, this is not the case because it's impossible to get perfect efficiency from the primary coil to the secondary coil.